what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Jose and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you.
Hola.
Buenos días.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Should we do some housekeeping?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Ew.
Signs of what?
Curvature, Earth-based curvature, the Earth curving.
Nope.
Timmy Osman shows obstruction in the buildings across the Salt Lake, and it varies. The obstruction varies. The higher he goes, the less obstruction it is. The lower he goes to the ground, the closest, more obstruction there is. And he calls that curvature.
That would be the angle of attack, reducing the angle down to almost nothing, causing the angular limitation to cause that mirroring effect. It's called Airy's diffraction, or the angular limitation of your camera. Diffraction limit. That's what you'd have to look up. Anyway, it doesn't prove anything unless you assume R. So if you see an obstruction and then go to a begging the question proof of nothing perspective omitting curve calculator that already has you on a sphere, then you can say that obstruction is caused by curvature when it's actually caused by a begging the question proof of nothing perspective omitting curve calculator that assumes you're on a sphere to begin with, and every outcome it gives you will be a sphere one.
Yeah, and then there's Bendy Bridge, but we've been there already.
Put it forward now if you want.
No.
Okay. Any signs of axial rotation?
There's no signs of axial rotation.
Sunsets and sunrises. That's their argument. One of them.
Sorry, say that again. I'll just turn you up a bit, Jose.
Sunsets and sunrises is a sign of axial rotation.
Why don't they call them axial rotations instead of sunrises and sunsets? Why don't they call them earth turns?
You got to extrapolate whatever you see in the sky, it happens on the earth. So something is spinning and they say it's the earth.
So can we say then that the answer to the question is no?
Well,
Yeah,
we need a bit of R.
no.
It's not a no, we just need a bit of R. We just haven't come to the R presumption yet.
Yeah, we also need a little bit of direction as to what is south when you're in the southern hemisphere, because I don't think they can even work it out.
No. That would be back to presuming R. Hemisphere.
Sorry.
Go, Travis. Go, Travis, go. Oh no, you're back on mute. Okay. Did it maybe? I can't go past that. He might have some signs of axial rotation, so I'm not going to move on until we hear from Travis. This dead air is caused by...
No.
Fair enough. Did you want to add something, though?
No. I just said I just dislocated my Bluetooth and the truck freaked out.
Truck's broke down.
No. Never mind. Move on.
So the answer to that one was no.
Correct. No.
Indeed. Any evidence of a gas pressure without a container?
Nope.
Rockets go to space and they are recorded. They say when the rocket goes up and disappears from your view, it has gone to outer space. Therefore, gas pressure without a container.
In seriousness, without going through the full debunking, has anybody actually got that transition shot? It's a Russian Vid's point, right? So Russian Vids, when he was debating, I think he was actually Red's Rhetoric on Non Sequitur. I think Dell and Gav had been on, and then they went for some reason. But then Russian Vids joined. And the question he said was, do you have that... No, he made it as an assertion. He said there are no shots of the transition from the gas pressure to the vacuum. And likewise, there's no transition shots the other way either. So from the vacuum to the gas pressure, there are no shots of that. And I thought I'll try that out once. And I think it was Apollo that was on. And I said, well, let's see your transition shot. Sure enough, he went to what he thought was his best effort. And there's a massive edit at the key moment. It's edited. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, so far I've not seen any. But has anybody else had exactly that, a transitional shot, like you claim, from the gas pressure to the vacuum?
It's the same missing evidence as we have with the stars. You've got to be looking south at the same time as another observer in America over another observer in Australia, and that evidence doesn't exist. So without that transition, that issue, like, they can't prove what they say they can prove. It's just we realise where the holes are.
Yeah, I've been looking and looking. I don't find a shot, uncut, unedited shot of it without the transition. I really haven't found it.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. What about the distance to the sun? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
There's absolutely no evidence to the distance to the sun at all. Well, there is no. The answer is there is no distance to the sun.
We're missing Arwen. He's keeping a low profile because he knows he's going to get told off by me.
And me.
Oh, by you? What were you going to tell him off for? Sniping you?
I'm going to tell him off for kicking me yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to tell him.
No good reason.
Friendly fire, man. Eventually, you've got to start considering friendly fire as unfriendly fire, if you know what I mean.
Well, I just don't think there's really any need to kick me. I mean, I get that if you... I don't kick like Arwen. I know he thinks I've kicked him in the past and kicked me as a result of it, and it's been ranty. But my point is that why is he kicking people anyway? Shouldn't the best thing that you do if things aren't going the way he wants them to go and he's getting to the point where he's getting angry, shouldn't he just leave the way I do? Because I think that sometimes you're better off just leaving rather than kicking somebody, because what then happened was he got then kicked himself. Now, whether you think that was fair or not, it ruined the show because it removed two people for basically disagreeing on topic, and I think that's stupid. But he made the decision, so
Shout out to Jose for kicking Arwen.
shout out reinforced.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I had to kind of take that step because he was just disrespectful. That's what I see. I say, you know what? Let's just kick them both. I mean, he kicked one, I'll kick the other one. Somebody want to kick me, but
oh, was that you?
Yeah, it wasn't necessary in the first.
No, don't blame you, Jose. If that was you, good for you.
I was thinking about it, but I was driving.
I really wanted the other guys to have a word, in the show because it was like so heated, so argue. I said, you know what? Let me kick Arwen because he's not gonna shut up. So yeah, then the guys took over and it was a little more of a discussion.
I think that if he's going to kick me for disagreeing with him, regardless on whatever the topic, I think that that's really a limitation where Ranty should be blamed for it because he did it first. But then we should stop blaming Ranty at some point because he is his own man. And he knows that he shouldn't be doing friendly fire, but he does it anyway. So, I don't know. At the end of the day,
he's scientific evidence? Let's move on to an Arwen-related subject. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. Absolutely no evidence of gravity whatsoever.
Two rocks resting on each other.
Oh, yeah, directional pressure.
Yeah, I say no. That's the answer.
What about hello, sausage? What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That is an endearing term right there, sausage. No science.
No, nothing below 7.5 miles. Nothing deeper than that.
What about the
Well,
presupposition
again,
itself?
I'll give him 8.
Say again, Jose?
I'll give him 8 miles just for the hell of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't claim that you know what's below the earth unless we actually have evidence of it. And the best that they've got is like seismograph stuff, and that's not good enough. Seismographs turned out to be unreliable in the Kola super deep borehole because they didn't have accurate outcomes. They predicted that there would be certain things, and they didn't get it. They predicted that there would be a density increase in the rock, and there wasn't. There was a decrease. And this is the citation for the shape of the Earth's core and whatnot. I don't think so. That's not credible.
Cool. I think that's it. Is that it? Is that all of them? I think so.
R.
Arr. So yeah, back to Arwen. He's got to stop the friendly fire. It's not really on. There's no need. Everyone's a winner.
I think we need
In
to
that
blame
conversation, neither you're both flat earthers, right? You've just got a difference of opinion. There's no losers in the situation. It's just one point will come out stronger than the other. And Arwen's always claimed it's only his opinion. He's not got scientific validity to it. So it's an interesting discussion point. And when it turns into a bit of vitriol and a bit of screaming, you're like, this is now become just a loser for Arwen because of his behaviour, not because he's losing the argument. Even though his points weren't as strong as yours, that's irrelevant. It's a win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. That's right, win-win.
Well, I'm not going to play the victim card. I'm going to empathise with him because I know how hard it is to be able to argue these points, because even when it's like someone like the Rumpus, it's really hard to keep you cool. So I get why he loses his temper. But I also realise that I've never kicked Darwin once, even though he thinks I have, and he realises it was actually ranty. But it's just bad that he kicks people because, like, unless I wasn't even Rumpus in the hangout, I was just disagreeing with him and asking him to clarify his term, and ultimately saying, "Look, your complaint isn't valid because we can't explain everything with density and buoyancy." End of sentence. I gave the explanation, and he basically claimed then I was strawmanning him, and I was like, "No, I'm actually dealing with the point that you're making," and I just find it to be a little bit what's the word?
Disingenuous.
Ingenuous. That's the word. Yeah. So
I mean, it gives away a lot of your personal, I don't know how to word it, but if you kick the opponent, if you have an argument with somebody, I mean, on the internet, and you boot that person in the middle of a conversation without gaining or losing a point, I mean, it's very telling. It's either I mean, you're losing the point or you don't want to address it. Is my take on it.
well, I understand why he gets pissed off. It's not easy. He knows that he can't prove his point, and he knows that ultimately it's going to go back to evidence, and he knows he's got to disagree. He knows he's got to back down when it comes to the evidence. And I think that's why it's hard for him, because he has to ultimately concede. So he'll fight and fight and fight and say that there is evidence, but there's no proof. And then hope that's enough for us to go away. But to be honest, proof is different to evidence. And just because there's evidence that Father Christmas exists doesn't mean that there's a good reason to believe that you can find proof. Just because there's evidence that maybe evolution exists because of wisdom teeth doesn't mean that there's proof lying around. It's just stuff that you accept to be true, but that doesn't make it true. And that's the bit where I struggle with him. Shut up!
Okay, so while I sort out a problem with the chat, apparently it's frozen, according to you, thank you very much. I'm going to bring up your GoFundMe campaign. Let's just stick a link in the chat before I do anything else with the actual on-screen chat. So, in the chat that's running right now, I've put a link to Anthony's GoFundMe because it's just hit £2,000. So it's £100 shy, having had 96 shares and been funded by 58 people. What a mad, mad campaign. You're only 100 quid shy of actually achieving your ends.
Well, what I've done is, because there's obviously been more support than what I expected, because I didn't know whether this would be supported. I mean, it's what I'm going to do is on the opening page of the document, I'm going to list every single person that donates, and I'm going to put the value of what they donated into it. so that when it's eventually read by somebody, they'll realize that it was the result of a GoFundMe campaign. And that'll just make it'll just credit people where they deserve it and where it should be credited. And I've already started writing the document. So shout outs to everybody that's been donating, and you will all get a mention on literally the first page, not the cover page, but the first page as you open it, like the foreword. You'll all get a shout out there. So every single person will get a mention.
That's cool. At least whoever donated, get a little something, get credit for it, because I mean, it's the people, that made it happen.
Yeah, everybody that donates will get a mention, a specific mention in the document. But don't forget, though, I still need to raise the whole amount before they release it. So if you're 50-50...
And a signed copy.
Pardon?
And a signed copy.
Yeah, a signed copy. Well, yeah, I probably could do a signed one.
And a picture of you with your dogs.
I might raffle one off. Sly doesn't understand what an independent variable is, Nathan. Do you want to tell Sly what an independent variable is?
You presume cause capable of being independently manipulated by a researcher. It also must be a real thing.
Yeah. Can distance be a cause?
All right, I'm doing something else. Just hold the show for 1 sec.
Okay. Well,
not any more than not any more than color can be a cause.
Yeah.
What's up, Arwin? Welcome.
Hey, Jose. Hello, Travis. Hello, Nathan.
Here he is. Good morning, Arwin. How are we today?
Hello, Arwin.
Better. Better.
Better?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Any evidence of gravity?
I want to apologize to my subscribers and everyone who follows me for my over-the-top attitude yesterday. And yeah, just, I don't know. I've had some new pressuring things happening that I really don't want to get into. Nothing too serious though. It's just.
So your subscribers get an apology?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to stop sniping people, Arwin. It's good that you're a good sniper, but when it's just friendly fire, there's got to be a line that gets drawn where it becomes unfriendly.
It was
right?
either that or leave and feel really, really upset for several hours, or trash my computer. So I thought, yeah, I'll take.
But then you need to leave. Then you leave, Arwin. You don't snipe.
I got sniped myself.
Well,
yeah, but I didn't snipe you when we were.
I know. It was Jose, and it's okay. I agree. It's okay.
I just find it interesting that you've apologized to your subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed a little short.
No. No, you deserved every single word in literal fashion that I gave you.
Oh, right. I'm glad you said that. So I'll just deal with an email, a message that somebody sent to me that you'd said. I'm going to ask you what you mean by it. Hang on. The message reads, Riley is out of control, deceptive. I will try to stay calm, but I'm not tolerating this shit from Riley any longer. Either he concedes that density and buoyancy do not include the directional pressure of solid objects on top of other solid objects in a stationary setting, or he introduces the maths with a gravitational constant that's there in the maths. Well, we won't be doing that. We'll deal with the first bit. But you've said that I'm out of control, deceptive. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
I mean that you are deliberately applying psychological warfare brainwash tactics.
Hi, Eric.
Very, very deep-routed straw man and red herrings all over the place.
Hi,
and
Adam.
You do it persistently, and you even act like you don't realize what you're doing.
Say hi to the new guest.
I full well know what you're doing.
So let's talk about what a straw man argument is, because I don't think you get it. What's a straw man argument?
I went a little bit over the top with the straw man. It was a lot of red herrings. I will correct.
Go on, Adam.
Yeah.
Go on. Go.
Hi, boys. I know you're having a nice bit of handbagging, and it outside of the entertainment value of you two, you are actually generating a quite an interesting debate amongst us all. And I just wondered if the pair of you would maybe just focus your thoughts just for a little bit to come up with 3 questions for us old men to discuss on Friday night, and just give our opinion, because we were chatting a bit last night about it, and we're as divided. And I think it is actually a good debate you're having. So trying to turn it a bit more constructive. If you guys are, I'm mixing cement again, guys. So I'm busy, but
Yeah.
if you could,
totally agree.
it'd be really good. And I think as lot, I'd like to have a little chew on it.
Right.
So you want
completely
three
agree.
questions
Wouldn't
on
you agree,
gravity
Adam?
and
Sorry
on
to
the
interrupt.
point that we're at
Wouldn't you agree
disagreement
that
on?
it's win-win?
Yeah,
In other words, when they-
three main bits that are points of contention, and we'll stick a load more opinion out there, because I don't think it's just you two that disagree on this. I think it's quite a poignant topic that it's hard for anybody to actually describe properly.
To get my 2 cents in real quick is just to bring up the analogy when we talk about measuring curvature. You don't get curvature until you introduce curve. And my question to Arwen yesterday had to do with gravity. If you take gravity out of the equation, what changes in your observation? So to me, that's an important question.
Yeah, when Rumpus was doing that derivation, where he was trying to put force G into the equation, it could just as easily been a big A, because it doesn't play a role within the calculation. You know what I mean? It has an independent function that they try to attribute to it, or a role, but it really isn't relevant in any of the maths. If anything, it's only put in there just to change the unit descriptions to bollock newtons.
No, but that's not entirely correct.
No, but I agree with that. That was what I was arguing yesterday.
Just before you get into the debate, though, I just want to get one thing.
Correct.
Sorry, Arwen. Sorry, Anthony. Sorry, Adam. I just want to get one thing in. The reason I see this as important isn't because to be honest, this argument it doesn't float my boat as some of the other ones do. But unlike when you say arguing about whether or not a rocket can work in the vacuum of space, every single part of that argument is conceptualized around the heliocentric world that they describe, whereas none of this is. So yeah, we're using a slightly loaded word, gravity, but ultimately speaking, we're describing effects that we can all look at, we can all observe. There's been plenty of visual demonstrations of what's occurring. So it's not surrounded by the heliocentric world when Arwen and Anthony argue about it. So it's a win-win situation. The only time it becomes a win-lose situation is when Arwen loses his temper and snipes somebody. If the argument were to continue indefinitely, you're both intellectually honest and saying, look, I've got no scientific validity for this, or here's my demonstration in the case of Anthony. But there's no losers in the situation. I don't see any losing. Except, well, like I say, other than when Arwen loses his temper and snipes somebody.
Right, but I'm not trying to scientifically prove gravity.
Well, what are you trying to do?
I'm just saying, looking at what's out there, and then just all folding it back to density and buoyancy as you apply it, and then see, yeah, is that really part of it? How does it work? And what is density and buoyancy? What causes it? It's an effect. It's something. Why does it do what it does? Why is there motion involved?
Density of an object's not an effect.
It's always forces. So where is this force coming from that actually causes these motions, causes the material to divide, causes the buoyancy effect?
So you think the buoyancy of a helium balloon is an effect?
It's just like
Arwen.
No further explanation needed. That's it. Yeah, that's
Arwen,
fine.
Arwen, do you think that the buoyancy element of a helium balloon is an effect?
I think that it seeking its density layer, basically its level, and the density layer is a force, is pressure. Basically, that's where it's coming from.
So,
pressure from the materials against each other in a certain fashion, redividing the pressure and then causing the lighter object to be pushed towards where it is lower in density, where the volumic mass level is lower on average, until it finds its own volumic mass level.
So I think I've just worked out where we can.
Doing that. It's a force doing that.
I think I've just worked out where we have our disagreement.
Out of nowhere. And that's what the G part stands for in the density and buoyancy formula. It is basically force. And they just say, yeah, it's gravity force. Because it's obviously not motion force.
Right.
That is why it is there.
Now I realise where
Force
the disagreement
causing
arises
this
from.
effect.
Arwin, now I
I'm
realise.
done now, so now you can start speaking. Thanks for trying to interrupt me.
Fuck off, Arwin.
Oh, and are you saying then? Because I think I've been listening to your bit, and we've chatted before. I mean, for me, you seem to be supposing like me. Well, are you supposing an additional force?
No.
On top of the density and buoyancy. I think that's
density and buoyancy is not a force.
Well, the ordering of generates.
To me, Adam,
It's
it
like
seems
a
that the
pattern. It is a
disagreement is to
pattern.
do
It
with
is
the
an order.
definition of
Hold on.
force.
Let me try and get
It
some
is
consensus.
motion
Hold on.
driving it, and motion is caused by force.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm not
Hold
trying
on.
to
You're saying it doesn't generate a force.
concept.
Would you agree that the changing thereof generates a pressure?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Adam described it as the changing thereof, and would you agree that that creates a pressure?
Changing thereof? What?
If you increase the
I'm not
density
suggesting
above
right,
or below
Owen,
something,
I understand it, but what I'm suggesting is this: we know that gravity is a very, very, very weak force, and I'm postulating. I'm not saying with the certainty you're talking that I can see that the sufficient atomic energy and quantum way of this force being applied in the ordering of the buoyancy and density, whatever's going off there, there may be sufficient energy exchange and force applied that actually generates this thing. Now, outside of that generation, the biggest question I've got is the orientation of which, and the way I'm seeing it is it's part of the electric field. So it's that electric field that's generating the direction. But I don't necessarily see the need for an additional force outside of that to be applied. So are you saying that the buoyancy and density is there, but there's also an additional force that is the causation of the direction of flow of the ordering?
Yeah. But what you said about the electric field, you have no proof that that is actually the cause of gravity.
Oh, absolutely
Just
not.
similar
Absolutely
effects.
not.
So to claim a cause there and then
No. As I said, postulated and not with the
Right.
certainty you're talking.
all right. Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to fully grasp your
Well,
your
you know what?
model, for want of a better phrase.
Right. So I'm not excluding that as a technical possibility somehow, maybe electrostatic in another form or in another scale that I don't understand or is not generally known. But as we know it now, it doesn't seem anything like what gravity should be.
So the main difference then between you and me then is I'm looking within the density and buoyancy and trying to find causation there, and you're looking for causation as an additional thing on top of density and buoyancy.
No, it is the cause of density and buoyancy, the effect to manifest, and you can even test this by applying other forces. I've described.
Can I ask
So you're saying the ordering
can
of
change
density
the
and buoyancy
alignment with
is
other
not
forces.
Sorry, Owen. Are you saying that the ordering effect then is a force applied effect and it's not an atomic effect?
Exactly.
So it has no effect on at the atomic level. That doesn't occur other than molecular mass, and that molecular mass ordering is only generated by that additional force.
The mass is that which is viable to the force. It is what actually is subjected to the force, and that is that is how it works. That's how it actually manifests, as it were, the effect, the ordering in the alignment.
But you've got no postulation as the causation of that force. So you rule out mass.
I don't know what
attracting
causes
mass
it yet, because I don't know the entire scale of the world setup, which is probably.
So can you see my difficulty that you're certain that there's a force there, but you're unable to even postulate its origin? You can rule out.
Very
Obviously,
frustrating, I know.
Yeah,
but it should not be an obstacle that should stop me from proceeding.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying
I might eventually find a viable cause. I already have a very theoretical approach that could say it is caused by the centrifuge of the giant Mobius strip Earth, basically. That is like a setup where it could explain what gravity is. It's just very remote. And I'm not saying, oh, that is it. No, absolutely not. But it is among the more remote possibilities. It's the only one I can think of that could physically explain it, sort of. And still, there would be a lot of variables, like going higher up eventually. You go very high up, and if you even can go there, then you would get at the center of the Mobius strip, and then you would no longer be subjected by the centrifugal force, and you would float there. It's very weird, surreal to imagine how this would work. Very unlikely, in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, it's just so difficult to figure out what could cause a field overlaying everything that's very constant and not generating any energy other than the movement of masses. What could cause such a stable field? It's very hard for me to even try to imagine something that could fit that.
You said field, but you're ruling out both electric and magnetic fields as possible causation.
Because it's not measured like that.
I don't know enough
measure gravity.
I don't know enough about the two and their interaction with matter to definitely rule that out. So that's what I'm saying. You're quite definitive in some of the things you've ruled out.
Yeah, it's good to not imagine. Then it's good to work with what we know, what we have.
I know, I understand, but I deem it unlikely because the forms that we know, electrostatic and magnetism, and we measure it with, there's a very specific spectrum of abilities that is in absolute opposition as to the force effect that causes density, buoyancy, alignment, and pressure of solid matter on other solid matter, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have the same elements. So it's so unlikely that it is that. Maybe in another form, some kind of.
Can somebody in the chat let me know how I get
we have overlooked or something,
a little meter in the bottom left of the screen? So every time Alwyn says very specific, it goes ka-ching.
Yeah.
What?
Can I ask Arwin, why is it that a very theoretic explanation is acceptable to you as a standard of evidence, but you don't accept the lack of evidence to support the theoretic approach as a problem?
Because I don't like holes in theories and things that I have not even, where I have a lead to something, but just because I can't scientifically prove it, I'm going to just not think about it. I don't do that.
By having a theoretic explanation devoid of evidence makes it a story.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're happy with the story, but you'll fight it to the death, even though it's just a theoretic explanation.
Yeah, that's right.
Why?
Can I like to know the why. I mean,
because I'm not a freaking nihilist. That's why.
But nah. But
Alan,
I know Arwen's not gonna like this, but I think his attitude is kind of indicative of what human beings have that have led us into this scientism religion, this obsession with the exact how and why. I don't get why they're
claim proof, right?
Yeah, I really don't see anything wrong with the way Arwen is theorizing. I don't see anything wrong with it.
I can only talk about things that I can prove, and otherwise I won't just shut up.
I see this is how religions are born out of.
Did you just say you only talk about things that you can prove?
No, that's not what I said. I said I'm not just going to only talk about things that I can prove and shut up about everything else.
Morning, Alan B.
Sure, but isn't the issue that you'll defend vehemently a concept that you can admit is theoretic?
Yeah.
The point I see personally that is many people don't agree with Arwen's approach is you defend a theory like it's true, like it's proven, like it's evidence. Let me finish really quick. I don't see anything wrong with you being theorizing and giving ideas and having the open mind of explanations, but don't defend it if you have no solid scientific proof. That's my approach, you know.
That's exactly what I said I'm not gonna do. And hey, if you ask me, where's your scientific proof? I say, I don't have any yet. So I'm very straightforward here with everything.
But we always get to the same point where we conclude that there's no evidence for your position, and you accept that.
No,
But you
there's
defend
plenty
the
of
position
evidence.
anyway.
There's just no scientific proof.
Just no scientific proof's an issue, though.
I know it's an issue. I'm not an idiot.
But why defend something so strongly with something that you know is not?
That's why. Because I want to. Right?
I've eaten too much cake, lads.
Because I think that your approach of density and buoyancy is incomplete. That's why.
But I can explain every point that you challenge me on, and then you
Except the
accuse
thing
me
that
of
you
being a
don't
straw
explain,
man.
and you just red herring me.
No. You criticize me for not being able
Yeah,
to
you
explain
do. Yeah, you do.
everything with density and buuoyancy, and then when I
No,
try
you
doing
haven't.
so, you say
Don't
that
even
it's a
go
straw.
there. Don't even go there.
But it's not a straw man to explain it with
let me
density.
jump in. Right, let me jump in just real quick because I don't think that it's a straw man, Arwen. I think that what Anthony is doing is he's taking what you're saying to its logical conclusion and asking a question based on that extrapolation. So that's not a straw man. That's simply saying, okay, if you say this, then this. So that's a discussion point. It's not a straw man.
Not an explanation. An explanation
But it is not.
actually
It's
is
exactly what you
about the
criticize me for
literal
not being able
setup
to do.
presented. It is not an example of something else that clearly is not the same.
Okay,
Oh,
Arwen, can I ask you a quick question? Sorry to interrupt, guys. So, you know your setup, the rock on top of the other rock? Say yes.
Yes.
Just need first step of agreement, Arwen. Is that what you're talking about in your setup?
Quite literally a rock
Yeah,
on a
come on,
rock.
Alan. It won't take long if Arwen just agrees. Yes, that's what he's talking about. That's my setup, right, Arwen?
Yes.
Stop picking on him.
Right. So he tentatively agreed. So would you agree that buoyancy is the relative density in a specific medium? Would you agree there? A yes or a no?
In a medium, well, yeah, I guess, yeah, like the
Okay,
gas
fine.
in a
That's
pump.
great. I didn't think those were contentious. The next one is, though, would you say that the first rock resting on the other rock is in the medium of the other rock?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? So the one rock
Yeah.
is in the medium of the other rock.
Well, the gas medium, yeah.
So it's not relative to its buoyancy then, because it is not in that medium of the rock that it's on. It's on it, not in it.
Right.
Well, the medium they're both in is air. What defines density when you're talking about how buoyant something is? It's relative to its medium. Well, the medium
So
isn't the
why
rock
does
it's
it
sat on.
press on the
The
other
medium
rock
is
then?
the air.
Because it simply can't move anymore. Why is it pushing?
It's got sod all to do with the
It's
medium it's
made.
in. Who cares? It's not nothing
Who
to do with the
cares?
medium.
Oh, well, I care.
But, yeah, but
That's
it's not.
what I'm
It's not.
saying.
It's not relevant to
Wait.
the density over its buoyancy. So that's achieved based on its medium. Well, it's in the medium of air. Both of them are.
Yeah.
So likewise, when Anthony showed you the picture yesterday with the olive oil and the alcohol, and you've got the little bubbles. Well, if one bubble sat on the other, it doesn't make any difference at all. If one is heavier than the other, it won't go through the other bubble. What is relevant is the relative position based on the medium that they are all in together.
Get that? Yeah. So, how, with everything you gave as an example, does it explain that the rock is pressing on the other rock with measurable
Because it has a
force,
density.
pressure? How does density and buoyancy explain that with the
Yeah, I'll
mediums
try.
and the
Both.
levels and
Both are more.
displacement? Remember?
Yeah, both are more dense than the medium than they are in. That's it. That's the end of
Yeah.
the explanation. So they're both going, relatively speaking, down in the medium they are in. They have not reached
No.
equilibrium.
See, Arwen, this is the bit where I'm looking for a bit more detail. And when I say what is the causation for the orientation, and I know it's a bit poetic that, but that to me is, like I say, I'm not looking for another force that's acting on the density and buoyancy system, because that's still and is creating the orientation. I'm asking whether within that system there is sufficient force to generate the ordering itself.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm wondering why you've
You
ruled
can
it
counter it.
out. Excuse me a sec, guys.
Sorry. But you can counter it. That's why I say it is caused by it. By counter it with a diving plane. And you can see, I already described it. Wait, I haven't actually showed any video about it. It's true, but I have seen it with my own eyes in my youth. And that, yeah, the material will not start to order itself into these typical layers in any orientation.
We can demonstrate that it actually does do that, though.
No.
Yeah,
No,
the egg
not in a diving
It's not a
plane.
yes
It
or no
won't.
argument. Just show it, Anthony. If you can bring it up, it take you 30 seconds because I'm not. That's
Well,
not
he knows the
what-
egg in the
Diving
salt
plane.
water experiment.
I was
What?
just flat out said no, so just prove that your yes is correct, and then we can move on.
Okay. Give me a sec. I'll have to find it.
Well, Arwen, can I ask you a question? You agree mostly with density, buoyancy, the mass, everything we all agree with.
Of course.
Okay. So can you, in short words, can you say exactly what's missing in this whole scenario of things? What's missing? Why are you looking
A
for
cause of the alignment, a cause of the pressures, the pressures being exerted, and why it seems to be, well, let's just say geodirectional. Why in this alignment? There's no explanation. It just is. Well, that's not an explanation. Just showing like, yeah, density, buoyancy, it works. It's also not an explanation. It's not a cause. And yeah, I look beyond. That's what I do.
This is going all the
So
way back
that's
to
so
the.
basically, you need a cause for why semen can inseminate an egg. There needs to be a force. In your logic.
Well, it's very interesting to know why it works the way it does. Yeah, especially in biology, there's all kinds of depths.
But is there some force that's in that whole situation where a semen,
Yeah,
a sperm,
biochemical force in that case.
a
It's
biochemical
concentrated,
force?
very specific.
So it's a force.
Resonance wavelengths even so. But
So I'm
That's
ready when you are,
biochemical.
Nathan. Do you want to ask Arwen the question again for which you gave the answer no?
No, you ask.
Yeah, I
It's your
was
question.
interrupted,
This
so-
isn't the one I was hoping for, but there we go. I thought you were going to show
This isn't
the
the one.
relative layers and with the cherry tomato. Oh well, you carry on anyway.
Well, I can do either.
It doesn't matter. It's your example. You go ahead.
oh my god.
Right, so you want to see a cause, Arwen? Yeah?
Gone very quiet. Just show it anyway, Anthony.
Yeah,
No,
you're just changing the average density of the water body, causing
Right.
the
So that would be a variable.
yeah,
wouldn't
the
it?
buoyancy point to displace for the egg. Yeah, that's what you're demonstrating. Oh, look. Yeah, the density changes. It changes it. That's a demonstration of density and buoyancy. Indeed.
Right.
It's not a cause. Doesn't say why the direction.
When we change the water density, the egg then changes its position.
Yeah,
And if you're saying
congratulations.
that's not a cause,
density
what
and
is-
buoyancy.
If you're saying that's not a cause, if you're saying that the relative density of the water that the egg's in is not the cause when we change it, what is it?
Shout out to Michael Book for the super chat. It says, "Why does there need to be a force as opposed to a law of direction?" Question mark. Feel free to answer if you wish.
You just killed my point. Let me just re-ask it.
My bad.
If there's a minute's pause, then there'll be a minute's pause. Arwen,
My bad.
if it's not a cause, when we change the density of the water that the egg's in and it makes the egg move, if that's not a cause, what is it?
It's a cause for the movement. It's a
Right.
cause for the average density layer to displace
if it's a
itself.
cause for the movement.
But you're
him
just
answer.
changing a symptom basically within
No,
the
hang on,
entire
hang on,
effect. It's
hang on,
not the
hang on.
cause
Hold on,
for
Anthony,
the
let him
entire
answer.
effect.
Let him answer.
Hang on.
Why it happens.
Anthony, let him answer.
Hang on, if he's just admitted that it's a cause for the movement.
No, I didn't. Stop twisting
did.
my
Calm
words
down,
around.
calm down.
Words. The first 3 words you said was, yeah, it's a cause for the movement.
Yeah, for the movement.
Right.
Not for the
So that's
effect,
the
not for
direction.
density and buoyancy itself.
But the direction of movement is what you would call the downward acceleration force, right?
No.
So what is it then if it's not that?
It's a force disequilibrium downwards that is constantly present everywhere. And I don't know the cause, but it seems to be there. And it's measurable. It leaves remnants effects
But when
that
we
are
change
very
the
difficult
density-
to basically relate to a force excluding density and buoyancy theory.
But when we add some salt to the water solution to make the water a little bit more dense than the egg, and the egg then goes up, we make the egg go up by making the density of the water change.
Right. You cause the displacement. Good for
Right.
you.
But that change in direction is not only down, it's now up. But
Yeah.
it's the explanation for why there's the
yeah.
displacement.
But those are the directions very specifically in that alignment.
you always
That's why
say-
it's a density buoyancy alignment.
Yeah, but you always say it's a direction of force going down, never any other direction, right? On this occasion, it's going up, but we're making it do it by
Because
change.
the
Hang on,
average
stop.
density has become
stop.
greater of the water.
Hang on.
It will push the egg upwards because the force on that material has become bigger because it has more mass.
What force?
So it will push the lighter density upwards,
What force?
which is the egg, which is not changed in density.
What force are you referring to? I don't see a force.
Now you don't see forces, you just see what it does to matter.
But the definition of force is twofold. It's physical and it's an interaction. It's got to be a physical interaction, right? That's 2 parts.
It interacts with matter.
Well, we're seeing an interaction with the salt, but where's the physical bit, though? Are you saying that the
That's
salt
called
physically pushes it
solution.
up?
No, you can't turn it off. That's the thing with gravity. I know. Yeah, I can prove it
We're not
because I
talking
can
about
vary it.
gravity. We're not talking about gravity. We're talking about adding salt to the water.
Yeah, you're
Right.
changing the solution. Yeah, that's
Right,
nice.
and
You're
then when
adding
we-
mass to
solution.
the average
But
density.
when we change the solution, the egg then displaces, right?
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
But you're saying that's a force.
Yeah,
Right. Do you know what the force requires?
it's displacing,
physicality.
isn't it? It's displacing, isn't it? Is displacement not caused by a force?
No, it has to
Doesn't
have
that
a
fall
physical...
into that category? Moving, force.
No, it has to have a physical interaction. It can't just be...
Isn't it physical
Magic.
interacting? Isn't it
Well,
moving?
let's see. Hold on. We
No,
haven't
it
actually-
lacks
Hold
physicality,
on,
though.
Anthony. Anthony, can you actually show? I don't play the video, but just pick out some stills of what's actually happening. Because so far, all we've got is a bag of salt in front of 2 jugs of water on screen. So it doesn't really I know you guys know what we're talking about, but there might be newbies who don't know what we're talking about, don't know what this example is, haven't seen it.
So I think what he's got here is a glass full of salt water, and the salt water is more dense than the fresh water, so the egg sits above. And then what he does is he adds a bit of the fresh water to change the density of the water that the egg sits in until he gets the egg to be in a state that's called neutral buoyancy. And when he gets the egg into a neutral buoyancy position, once it settles down, it sits in the middle. And then what he does is he either adds, I can't remember exactly what he does. Nick won't mind us playing this, Then he takes the egg back out and puts it back into the salt water. I can't remember exactly the chronology of the events here. But the point is, he literally makes makes the egg change its position by adding salt water or adding fresh water. I can't remember which way he does it.
Doesn't matter.
But
If
if
you
you
see
haven't
the
seen
eggs
this-
change position, it's fine. We get the point.
Yeah. So go and check this out on Phuket Words channel. No gravity, no globe, relative density on flat Earth.
Oh, is it
I agree
Phuket Words
complete-
video? Sod it, just let it play. He's good. He's not going to copyright strike me.
No, he won't do, no.
Yeah, just let it play. Carry on, Arwin.
Hey, okay, wait. It's Phuket, by the way. I always hear it pronounced incorrectly.
Phuket-
Sorry to be a
Phuket
little
word.
Nazi.
That's
Not-
okay. I was going to do
Not
it.
fuck it word. Phuket word.
It's not fuck it. It's Phuket.
Phuket
Fucking
I
word.
said Phuket, didn't
Yeah.
I?
It's the paper.
Yeah, there's
so
no-
it's like a
there's no
newspaper. The Phuket word means the paper he's writing. Does that make sense?
So the first letter is P for Peter or F for Freddy?
P.
PH. H is silent.
There's no H.
Phuket word.
Take the H out.
It's Phuket.
Yes. It's spelled with an H, but we don't pronounce it in Thai.
All right.
Just,
So,
okay.
so the essence of this video is basically that if you change the medium, the density of the medium that the egg sits in, you can make that egg move. You can cause the egg to displace by changing the medium it sits in. Now, first off, this is not in the downward position, which is a phrase that Arwen likes to use. He likes to say it's downward acceleration force, and he says that it can't be explained by density and buoyancy. Well, this is explained. Now, on this particular video, he makes
Don't call it that.
But I'm citing you.
Yeah, you're citing me from a time ago. Stop misrepresenting what I say. I don't.
So, is your current position an upwards? What is your current position?
It's a force disequilibrium downwards. That's what it is.
Right. So we need the definition of force, then, don't we?
Yeah.
Right. So let's get a definition of force.
No.
We've done
Can't
this.
prove it. I can prove it.
Yeah, but
No.
force is the contagious bit over here.
This is just what it is. You can call it absurd.
Hold
you
on,
can
hold
call
on,
it
hold
upward
on,
acceleration
hold on,
effect.
hold on.
That's
What's
fine.
your objection? I don't get it. What's
I
your
don't
objection?
call it downward force. I just don't.
So what's the problem with
I don't do
getting
that
a
anymore.
definition of force? What's the issue here, Arwen? I don't get it.
Well, Arwen's calling the
No,
displacement.
not you,
a force.
Arwen. Arwen's the one making the objection.
No, I'm objecting.
Well,
Arwen's
you're
calling it a
defining
force. I object.
Hold on, let me get. No, you're defining. Is Arwen saying force? You're defining force, and Arwen saying no. Well, what's your objection? That's why I'm interjecting. Arwen, what's your objection?
Can't prove
here?
a cause. You have to. Yeah, if it's a force, then it can only be a force if there's a cause, and there is no cause. It's just, it's measurably there, works out.
Oh, whoa! You can't. That's double speak. You can't say you can't have a cause
there
that's
are
not
elements
there,
of
and then say
that
it's there in the
eminent
next breath. That's
pressure.
double speak. That's just double speak, Arwen. You can't say
Displacement.
it's not there and there in the next breath.
Is
That's
caused by force. It is what falls into the category of forces. Displacement. So what's causing that displacement? Has to be a force involved. So where's that force coming from?
No, there doesn't have to be a force.
Yeah,
mixing
it does.
Hold
No,
on, Anthony.
there doesn't-
You're
if
mixing
there is a
two
force.
terms. You're now saying displacement and force.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's mixing terms.
No, I'm saying there is displacement going on. Displacement is movement that falls into the category of forces in the official definition of forces.
Okay, well that's where
So
we're
what
at.
is
That's-
causing
hold on,
that?
Hold on,
Here
Arvid,
we
that's
go.
where. Hold on, that's where we've got to. Now we're defining force, and that's where you raised
Yeah,
the objection.
the only forces there are, we've gone through this. The only force is something you apply, transfer of energy. I pushed with my hands.
Yeah,
There's no
Indeed, it's always coming from somewhere. So where is this force
But you
literally
apply-
coming from when something is displacing? What is the root of that force?
I don't know. Me.
Yeah,
Machine.
exactly. Yeah, I have a theory about that. It's called gravity. That's right. Anyway, I'm gonna take a smoke break, please. So, have fun.
What is
Just trying to lighten the tone.
Arwen's gone away.
It's on mute, but
I don't know. With all due respect to Arwen, I just personally I see this philosophically. This is what leads us into cults and
Scientism.
yeah. I mean this obsession, and I know there's a good side to it, and Jose brings up a good point. I agree there's a good side, but it becomes obsessive, compulsive, looking for the exact. It works. Buoyancy, density, mass. Applied forces, it explains everything. Why does it? I still have not received an answer from Arwen exactly why a clear answer why there needs to be something else. Why? I don't understand. I'm at a loss.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated this show, then you've probably done it already, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!